Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Hard Count Football Podcast Live. My name is Jacob Charnow, leading the next generation of football fans live on the Hard Count Football YouTube channel and right here on Bucks Report. We have our championship games set for next Sunday as the divisional round has wrapped up, and we have lots of news regarding head coaching hirings. And with that being said, let's get right into it. Let's start off by talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I have said for a while that, if the Buccaneers and Saints had played again in this season, the Bucks were going to win, right? I said there was no way the Saints come in and beat the Bucks. They were rolling into the playoffs. The Bucks were rolling into the playoffs, right? Tom Brady was playing like he was 25 years old, and this defense and offensive line were really starting to step up. I also said that nothing the Saints had done up to this point had impressed me in terms of this offense in the slightest, right? In the last couple of weeks, they have not been impressive at all. Drew Brees, his arm is shot. Michael Thomas hasn't done anything because he's been hurt. Besides Alvin Kamara, no one else has impressed me. Listen, the Bucks came out and did exactly what I thought they were going to do. They came out and did exactly that, right? They were just the better team, offensively and defensively. The Bucks just played better. I mean, early on, it didn't look great for the Bucks, but then they started to heat up and this defense started to get rolling. And after, especially after Jameis Winston threw that long touchdown pass, that kind of, it was a wide open receiver that might have set Bucks fans off a little bit. Todd Bowles locked it down. They locked down the Saints. The Saints have a top 5 defense, so to have the Bucks attack them time after time on the ground like they did was extremely impressive. It should really give Bucks fans hope for, what's going on for at least for the future, for the next couple games, that this offense is going to figure it out. It should definitely give you hope that that's going to happen. And the Bucks, they ended up winning the game 30-20, and Drew Brees finished for what is probably his last game of his career with 134 yards passing, a touchdown, and 3 interceptions. Not the best game, but if this really is the end of Drew Brees' career, then it puts the Saints in a really interesting situation. First of all, congratulations to Drew Brees on an amazing career because, and he is absolutely a first ballot Hall of Famer, no doubt in my mind, but the Saints are now in a weird spot, right? We saw Drew Brees whispering to Jameis Winston, oh, this is your team now, that this was his team now. Probably much to the delight of Bucs fans, actually. Very interesting indeed. The Saints are over $90 million. They are $90 million over the cap right now. $90 million. I don't even know how you do that. It's impressive. It is impressive to be $90 million over the cap. I don't think that's ever happened. And they won't be able to pay a quarterback is the bottom line, right? They're not going to be able to go out and get a guy like Stafford. They're not going to be able to go out and pay a guy. I don't even think, I don't know. I don't think they'll want to draft one. I think it's either Sam Darnold or bust, or you give it to Jameis Winston. I don't believe in Taysom Hill. I don't believe in any of it. I don't think Taysom Hill is a quarterback for the future. If Sean Payton sees the talent in Jameis Winston, then I wouldn't be surprised to see Jameis as the QB for the Saints in week 1 of 2021. Either way, congratulations to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who now move on to the NFC Championship. And here's what I'm going to do. Before we move on, I forgot to do this. I'm going to put the stream link right in the chat. So if you want to join and talk to me about any of these games, talk to me about any of these questions, any questions for me, feel free to join. And later on in the show, I'll put the phone number up to call in if you would like as well. But let's move on. Now, let's talk about the Packers-Rams game. The Packers soundly defeated the Rams 32-18. It was like the Rams defense just decided not to show up. Aaron Donald might as well have not been on the field, and Davante Adams certainly got the best in Jalen Ramsey. When we saw Ramsey literally had a freak out attack on the field after Davante Adams scored a touchdown. The MVP Aaron Rodgers continued to play like a stud, 296 passing yards and 2 touchdowns with no interceptions. Aaron Jones also had 14 carries for 99 yards and a touchdown as well. And Davante Adams ended up finishing with 9 catches for 66 yards and that touchdown. All in all, the Packers, you look at the silver lining on this. The Packers carved up the number 1 defense in the NFL. That was what happened. And if that's not scary for you, if you're a Bucs fan right now and you're looking at it and the Packers offense isn't scaring you, then I don't think you're watching the Packers offense this year. The Packers defense, which I have been extremely critical of, didn't seem to be an issue for them at all. And I've looked at the stats. They're not as bad as I thought. I still don't think they're great against the run, and I think they're very vulnerable there. But let's look at the Rams. So on the Rams side, first, I want to give all the credit in the world to Cam Akers, because Cam Akers is going to be an absolute tank in the NFL for years to come. He is a really, really talented player. Also, apparently, according to reports, this is interesting, Jared Goff and Sean McVay's relationship is not great at all, and apparently could use some marriage counseling. This is certainly a story that's worth monitoring and to watch during the offseason. I mean, either way, the Packers beat the Rams, and we have our NFC Championship set next Sunday at 3:05 p.m. Eastern. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers head to Lambeau Field to take on the Green Bay Packers. Now, and now that I'm really thinking about it, think about, how interesting this offseason it could be. I mean, even forgetting the draft, right? Which, I mean, that'll certainly be interesting by itself, especially now that there's no combine, there's no in-person combine, and they're coming up with other ways to do it. Think about the amount of teams that are going to be in the quarterback market next season during the offseason and how that could shape up. I mean, I think there's probably only 6 to 8 teams that won't be having internal discussions about the quarterback position in 2021. 6 to 8 that I can think of. I mean, think about some of these teams that could have a new quarterback starting for the next year and what that quarterback carousel might actually look like. The Eagles, Saints, Jets, Niners, Texans, Colts, Steelers, Bears, Washington football team, Lions, Broncos, Colts, Falcons, Panthers, and Patriots could all have new starting quarterbacks next year. That's insane. If you thought last year's quarterback situation was crazy, with Tom Brady going to Tampa and Cam Newton going to New England, get ready for this year, because it's going to be an absolute ride. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's get through some of these comments right before we keep going here. Yakin says, let's go Saints. Bucks cheated. Okay, keep talking. Bucks time says the defense came out in zone again and did not get going until they went to man coverage. Listen, you get to do what you got to do. What you got to do. Blake says, Jacob, what's up, Blake? Josh Allen says, the prodigy. What's up? Blake says, always check out Jacob and the Hard Count Football Show. Yes, absolutely. Check it out. Hopefully Vita Vea gets back for this week, because he deserves to be out there. He is the biggest pardon the pun, to number 1 rushing defense. He is. I forgot to mention that Vita Vea might be back for the Packers game. He's designated to return off IR. That's very exciting if you're a Bucs fan, because he is a great defensive lineman. Taysom Hill will beat out Jameis Winston. I doubt that. The NFL paid my Saints to lose the game. Okay. Alan says, go Bucks. Yes, go Bucks. We still celebrating that we retired Drew. Yeah, I mean, listen, you can. Taysom Hill's great at BYU. Winston is an interception machine. I'll give him this. I know Bucs fans I hate talking about him, and I don't talk about him when I talk about the Bucs. But with the Saints, I see the talent. You do see the talent. He has the big arm, and a lot of it comes down to all of it comes down to decision making. And I think that Sean Payton is a good coach to help Jameis Winston now. We'll see. The Packers will avenge us. Listen, I don't want to hear anything about how the Bucs beat the Packers 38-10 earlier in the season, because I mean, you guys got killed by the Saints also, and I don't feel like that's a fair. And then you guys came out and beat the Saints, so I don't think that's a fair comparison. Glad to see Drew and the Saints get a rude send off. Listen, Drew Brees is a legend. Don't count them out. Packers can run the ball, but if Adams is shut down, the Packer an average offense. Well, good luck trying to shut down Devontae Adams. It's easier to say than do. I mean, listen, the Saints are one of those teams that can't win in the playoffs. That's true. Christopher says, what's up, Jacob? What's going on, Chris? And Buckside says, bro, I know you were dying to talk about the Jets head coach. We'll certainly get to that. That's a segment later on. But let's talk. We have a guest in here now. Let's bring him in. Deshaun Tisdale from the 401. What's going on, Deshaun? How are you?
Hey, what's up, Jacob? How are we doing today, man?
I'm doing well. So I was just about to get into these AFC divisional games. Let's talk a little bit about them. The Bills played against the Ravens and basically just shut them down completely. It didn't really feel like the Ravens had a chance, right? After that, you're watching that game, it makes no sense. This wasn't the most fun game to watch, I don't think. I think out of all the games, again, it was probably the most boring. The biggest play was that 101-yard pick by the Bills that really kind of put the game over the limit. the Bills just look like a dominant team in the playoffs right now. And then they won't have to play a defense better than the Ravens the rest of the way, I don't think. I mean, Josh Allen showed up 206 passing yards and a touchdown, and that touchdown was to Stephon Diggs, who, I mean, he could very well be considered a top 5 wide receiver right now. He leads the league in like almost every statistical category that a wide receiver. And I mean, he finished with 8 catches for 106 yards in that touchdown. Listen, the Bills look like a team that can win a Super Bowl. I mean, as do the other 3 teams remaining. These are the top 4.
I don't know, Jacob. I don't know. Listen, here's where I'm at. I have to stop you right there.
Go ahead.
This Bills team, we talk a lot about, when Tampa had the game when they only had 5 rushes. This Bills team just went with like no running game. They just went ahead and we're just going to pass the ball all on you. And listen, I'll take a little bit of air out of the sails for this Bills team, and I'm going to tell you why. We're talking about there's going to be some point when the clock, basically the clock strikes 12, right? And,
right.
You are who you are. So right now we're talking about a quarterback. He's not highly rated. No one knows him. He's basically a no-star, undrafted, and then he's making everything happen. They go out and they get receivers that's going to work. Every single thing in the Bills for the Bills is working in the Bills' favor. And best believe, a long, long time ago, I was with Bills Mafia. I'm from New York. I was a Bills fan a long time ago when it was the K Gun. I left the Bills and came to Tampa with Darryl Talley. Kind of stood off from football a year. No one knows this, so I'm putting it out here on your show, right? And I know this Bills squad right now because I'm watching them, and I'm saying, listen, can you really win in this playoffs with no attempt at a running game? Just no attempt. And I'll give you one thing. The receivers all the receivers for the Bills are just playing out of body right now. They're doing everything that their quarterback needs. But the main things you see a tons of comebacks. When he has to get out the pocket, they're coming back to the ball. They're saving him. They're saving him. So a defense is going to need to be able to get to them, to get to this quarterback before he can get the ball out to those receivers, because they're going to work and give 100% of their body to try to save him and make this team happen. Now, the team also, the Bills gives up. They give up the ball on the run. They give up a lot to the running game as well defensively. So I can see where it's not a matchup that I don't think is going to be a problem in the AFC playoff game. But I think when it comes to any one of these NFC teams that they have to face, that's where the problem is at. So I would like to ask you this: looking at this playoff, Jacob, and you know the quarterbacks. I know you know all the teams. You keep tons of stats. Tell me this: every quarterback that's in the playoff, that is left in the playoff right now, most scramble ability. We say it's Allen. Is it Rodgers? Do we know if Mahomes is going to be back? He's in concussion protocol, right? Then what's the best defense that's left in this playoff? We got 4 teams right now. What's the hands down? Who's got the best defense left in this playoff?
The Buccaneers probably by far. The best defense, definitely.
I would say so. So now I'm looking at this team and I'm wondering if this Bills team can escape with it, and I think they can, because I don't necessarily see anything that could stop us from seeing exactly what we saw this week. The problem for them comes into, can they stop another team offensively and allow the clock not to run away? Because that's where game management and time management from a game perspective is where they can get into issues. They're not going to stop people from scoring. They love to score. Their problem is if they come against a stout defense. I watched them in that Pittsburgh game look absolutely awful when the defense was stout enough to give them issues and give them fits. And you can see them get fits. It's not at this point in the season, there's no, can we not stop this passing attack? People can, they just have to have enough personnel, players be committed to it. And I think that, can they come out of the AFC? I think would you say it's a crapshoot? Do you think it's up in the air? Because I think that this Bills team doesn't have a run game, and that could compromise them in this game. What's your thoughts?
I mean, they play the Chiefs, right? The Chiefs defense gives up the most. Their weakness is the run. And you're right. I mean, if the Bills can't get that run game going, I don't know if they're going to be able to beat them. I mean, obviously, if Mahomes doesn't play, I don't think it'll be close. But if Mahomes doesn't, and the Bills can't get anything going in the run, I don't know how the Bills are going to beat the Chiefs. We've seen crazier things happen, obviously, but you're right. You're right on that one. The Bills are, I think, the least likely team to win the Super Bowl this year, but I don't want to count them out completely just yet.
Oh, no, I don't think that you can count them out just because of the way they've taken this season on by storm. You cannot absolutely count them out. Listen, Stephon Diggs right now, you say top 5. I mean, there's a couple of receivers this year, man. I know you got the numbers on it. I haven't even been dialing in on all the numbers, but there's a couple of receivers this year that just look phenomenal. Like you got Adams. I mean, we're not even talking about a Mike Evans type with another 1,000 yards, and this is probably going to be a Hall of Fame type situation for him. Not talking about that. I'm talking about the Adams and the Diggs and receivers that are being basically what Michael Thomas was in the past of, I know you're going to go to him, and what Julio, essentially is for the Falcons from a standpoint of, I know you're going to him. We're double coveraging him. We're bracket coveraging him, and we still cannot stop him because we just can't. And that's what Diggs is right now. And I mean, now, how do you see KC's defense, dealing with him? Because, routes are great when you're in basic coverage, but once it turns into a scramble drill, I think this Bills team looks so phenomenal from a scramble drill standpoint. And then if you can't get to them with your line, then what do you do? How are you stopping this team?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, come on. I don't know how. I think Josh Allen might have one of the strongest arms that I've ever seen on a quarterback. Like
cannon. He's got a absolute cannon. Have you noticed how he flicks it? I mean, Jacob, have you seen it too? I mean, there's a couple of people that have they have some just phenomenal arms in the
him, Mahomes and Rodgers are the only ones I can think of that have that kind of cannon.
Yeah, and you know what? I would say a younger Rivers used to have a cannon like that as well. Mm-hmm. Just certain one of these guys that he's railing that ball in there. But I think you hit it. Just a Josh Allen right now for this playoff. I think Josh Allen and Mahomes. I mean, I've seen Mahomes just it just looks like he couldn't have put anything on that. When a lot of times we watch Rodgers, he's going through a full 20-year, 16-year veteran quarterback mechanics, throw. So yes, it's a cannon, and sometimes he just looks like he's throwing Hail Marys. I don't know. Yeah. If any one of these quarterbacks, out of the quarterbacks that are left, I would say, between Rodgers and Mahomes, they can make these pro guys look like they're playing backyard football anytime they want. I mean, they're running around, they just flick it. But then you bring Josh Allen into it. He doesn't have the same swagger, but he's out there competing, and he's making his receivers they're both doing the help you help me situation, because he's running out buying time for the receivers, and they get in the scramble drill, and dude, they're breaking towards him. I think they whole practice, they may run 5 plays and everything else is scramble drills because that's how it looks.
No, absolutely. And I think this is going to be, this could be one of the best games. If Mahomes plays, this could be one of the best games that we've seen on both these games. I mean, we get to see Brady versus Rodgers. We get to see Mahomes versus Allen. What did you think about this Bucs game this weekend? And I mean, what do you think about the Bucs going forward?
I mean, listen, I've said it many a times. I thought that the Bucs had to win this last game. That was just the fact. Everything that was set up for this season was to be a hat and t-shirt game. You heard BA allude to it a couple of times on his pressers. And the fact that it had to be hat and t-shirt, a lot of people were thinking, oh, that means Super Bowl. No, that's coach speak. Coach speak just means we need to get to NFC Championship. This is the hat and t-shirt game. Doesn't mean that we're planning on winning it this year. Just means that, hey, that if we get hat and t-shirt, we've at least got to a to a marker point, to that mile point in your to a waypoint, if you will, in your progression. Now, granted, based on who's left, things might just fall in a line for the Buccaneers, because let's say we get a Bills team, coming out of the AFC, because you don't have to deal with Mahomes, and he's got a concussion and he's out of it, and the Bills are able to win. Guess what? That lines up for Tampa. They would want to play the Bills over playing over having to deal with that speed. Now, granted, defensively, we found out how to work that speed later on, but I could definitely see where we would want to play I would want to play. Who wouldn't want to play the Bills over the Chiefs, right? And now you look at where we're at. Okay, first game, that's an anomaly. We got to throw stuff out for that game against Green Bay. But what we're not going to throw out is the fact that your starting veteran left tackle is not in here, right? What we can't throw out is Devin White is in this game playing phenomenal, 140 tackles on the season, 9 sacks, right. All kinds of pressures. Absolute Pro Bowl snub. He's just snubbed. Then he comes back for being off 2 weeks, 11 tackles, interception, gets the fumble recovery, just a man amongst boys. And who do we have to chase around? We got to chase around Aaron Rodgers. We got to apply some pressure to him. We got to hide stuff. We got to disguise stuff. A secondary that is, Sean Murphy-Bunting's been looking, suspect all season, right? But here we go in the fourth quarter right now. He's late in the season, he's stepping up. He's actually playing well. Jamel Dean's playing well. And guess what? No one's talking about the fact that Carlton Davis just put the clamps on Michael Thomas. No catches. He just locked him down. So guess what? Whenever you have a phenomenal receiver that we have to go against, he gets Carlton Davis. That he gets snubbed a little bit too. And that's simply because it's a small market team. Guess what? If this same Tampa team, same exact defense was a Jets defense right now, where the market is clearly bigger, this team would be known. Just think, you're a Jets fan. You know how many years that these Jets defenses have been, that you've been like, oh, well, we got enough defense, but obviously a defense just can't stay on the field forever. We need the offense to help us out. So you've had Jets defenses under the same Todd Bowles, and those defenses had sacks, they had players, they had, everything happening. But obviously if the offense stays out there, gives you nothing, and that's what Tampa was dealing with. So this year, in this game looked phenomenal. I think it started because we looked at a playoff type game from Tampa offensively. Brady took what he got, what he needed to, or he didn't press it too much. You didn't see a J-Dub effect out of him where he's just throwing stuff because I want you to get it. I think we needed the Mike Evans touchdown, but guess what? It was one-on-one. You take your big 6'5" receiver, you throw the ball up, let him shield body. He was a basketball player, didn't play football until last year in high school anyway. And Mike Evans makes the catch. That's a touch. The rest of the touches, they're coming down the field and we're running. We're getting Leonard Fournette. We're getting everybody going here. Run the ball over 100 yards over 125 yards, I think, on the ground with him and Rojo. Look at that combination. You talking about thunder and lightning for the old Bucs fans with Dunn and Allstott. You had Fournette, big as I don't know what, bully runner running in the air, and then you get Rojo, and his burst is there. I think he's a little bit gimpy. If you saw that game, I think that thigh, or I think it has some effect. I don't think he can go full tilt, because you saw when he went to go open it up. I thought he was gonna pull it up. I thought he pulled up a little bit, but I feel like with another week of therapy and everything else, at this point, that hand's got to be coming off, his little cast off his hand. So I think this Buccaneer team is, hands down, and AB's not injured. So we didn't see AB this game. He didn't have an effect. It just was, I think this was an easier game than what people anticipated because the defense showed up, and we just didn't lose it on offense. But against Aaron Rodgers, I would say, Jacob, and I'll take your opinion on this, I think we have to get out there and score, because they are definitely going to score. So we have to get out there and score.
This game could definitely end in a shootout. I think that, both these offenses seem to be rolling, and I do like the Bucs in this game, and that's not just because I'm on Bucs Report. I really do think that they're a more complete team than the Packers are right now, especially defensively. And I don't know, it's going to be a fun game to watch, but we got 2 more guys lined up in here. First is, as always, Johnny Dean, the professor. Welcome to the show. And we have a new guest in here. Let's see how this goes. Dominic, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing well. So Dominic, are you from Houston?
No, I'm actually from Virginia, Manassas, Virginia.
Okay, Virginia. So let's get your thoughts. What do you think of this Bucs game?
Overall, it was a pretty good game. Tom Brady, the Bucs had a couple good key plays in that game. 4 turnovers for the Saints. That was rough, but overall, it was a pretty good game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what do you think about this Bucks game against the Packers? I mean, what do you think that the Bucks are going to be able to contain Aaron Rodgers and this offense, or do you think that they might crack under the pressure?
I think they could contain or they may get under the pressure. I mean, Aaron Rodgers was the MVP of the NFL season. I mean, he had a pretty good season with the Packers. I mean, Packers were pretty well, but I think the Bucks have a chance.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do you have any specific questions for us, or I mean, for Johnny or Deshaun or me?
Yeah. Do you think Tom Brady could get another Super Bowl ring?
Yeah, we'll go. I mean, we'll go around here. We'll talk about this probably extensively, especially for the next couple of days. But I don't see. I really do think that the Bucks are a likely team to win the Super Bowl this year. I mean, they look like they're absolutely rolling. Johnny, what's going on? I mean, how are you today? What do you think about? Do you think Tom Brady can get another Super Bowl ring?
Oh, yeah. How's it going, Jacob? What's up, Deshaun and Dominic?
Not much, man.
Absolutely, man. We've already seen that the Green Bay Packers aren't too much for the Bucks to handle. I mean, that's been proven already, and this is a completely different team, too. I mean, everybody talks about how Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay Packers are on a roll and that they're a completely different team than the Bucks faced. And what they improved a run game. And if we are getting Vita back, that just solidifies our run stop. It also increases our pressures, and that's going to help our secondary out. So I'm not going to say I'm not worried about Aaron Rodgers and them, but I'm not worried about Aaron Rodgers and them.
Hey, let me jump in there, Jacob, because I agree with you, Johnny. Listen, we're talking about a Bucks defense that clearly the secondary is so much more seasoned than what they were a year ago this time. We've got extra games under their belt. They've seen many things. I've seen them now clamp down. You've both seen exactly what we've seen. We've seen them go in and make the best halftime adjustments. I'm not kidding you. From Todd Bowles, with his halftime adjustments, have just absolutely been phenomenal this season. And now when you get a secondary playing like this secondary is playing, I've noticed a rotation there. So what I've noticed, Johnny and Jacob, is I've noticed when Edwards caught that last pick, if you looked at the defensive front that we were in, we had what's his name, the Hawkeye kid, Anderson. Then we had also Cam Gill in there rushing. We had the only starter in there was Sue. So everybody was in rotation, keeping bodies fresh and trying to get pressure in there against Breeze. We weren't getting to him from a sack perspective, but we're pushing the pocket, getting everything in there. And Johnny, you know just as well as me, and Jacob, I believe you know it as well. And you probably know this as well, Dominic. If Vita Vea is pressing to be back, he's 100%. They're activating him. He's going to supply so much pressure inside, help out defensive rotation. Now you're going to have another big body in there that is super effective, and he calls for a double team over 350 plus. He's calling for a double team, and he's strong and fast.
And
yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, I know the Bucks defense wasn't pretty well through a couple of the regular season games, but overall their defense was pretty well.
Yeah, no, completely. They were, and Vita Vea. I mean, you look at that Packers offensive line, right? They are missing their left tackle, but I mean, their backup has been decent. He hasn't been bad. But Vita Vea is a guy you have to double team, and if you're double teaming anybody on this Bucks defensive line, someone else will get to the quarterback. I can almost guarantee you, whether it's JPP or Shaq Barrett or even Devin White blitzing, I can guarantee you that someone will get to the quarterback on this Bucks team. If you have to double team Vita Vea, which you absolutely do. But Dominic, if you don't have any more questions, man, I'm gonna get you out of here. But feel free to join back later in the show if you have any more questions.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
All right, for sure, man. I'll see you. Thanks for joining.
No problem.
All right, what's up, guys? All right.
All right.
Let's keep going. Let's talk a little bit about this this Browns game, because I have a specific point I want to get to on this. And so overall, I mean, Chiefs went up relatively early. They were up 19-3 at one point, and it looked to pretty much be over. But then we know Patrick Mahomes, I think he hit his head on the ground or something. He ended up looking like he got up with all rubber legged and all that. He had no idea where he was. Clearly had a concussion. They got him out of there. They ruled him out for the game pretty quickly. Chad Henne comes in for the Chiefs to try and close it out. The Browns ended up coming back to make the score 22-17, but they ended up. I mean, the Chiefs came out, and I don't know. I'm sure you guys were watching the game. That call by Andy Reid on 4th and 1 to throw the ball with Chad Henne, and it really speaks volumes to Andy Reid as a coach and how much faith he puts into his players. And I mean, when you don't have Patrick Mahomes on the field, I think that's when you can really see where Andy Reid is as a coach and how great of a coach he actually is. Because it's easy to say, oh, well, obviously it looks like Andy Reid's a great coach because he has Patrick Mahomes and all these weapons. But it's when you have Chad Henne in and he's throwing, I mean, he has that play call and he believes in him and he makes the play. That's when you start to see, oh, Andy Reid's really, really that good. On the other side of that, though, the Browns, they had, I know obviously they're not there, they're out, but this season for the Browns, they had a great season, and obviously it sucks to see it end for them, but they really have a future. And as much as people hate to admit it, Baker Mayfield is the franchise quarterback for this team, and Kevin Stefanski is the coach of the year. I don't think it's a debate anymore. I think he deserves it. And once the Browns upgrade on defense, and especially at safety, I think this team has the chance to be something special. What do you guys think about this Browns team going forward?
Yeah, I wrote an article about Kevin Stefanski should be coach of the year about a month and a half ago. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Deshaun.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that this Browns team, listen, there's so many first-round picks on this Browns defense, on this team in general. Let's just start right there. So it's a no-brainer to me of where this Browns team is really can really be at. But I think that some of the things with Andy Reid, like you were saying, is just that. Listen, ever since he was in Philadelphia, he's been just an offensive mastermind, Yeah. So there's not an issue there. So I think that it was an easy call for him. I know we're giving him a lot of accolades for, making the call because it was, a tough decision. But I really think that it's not a tough decision for him when he knows his offense. He knows what defenses do to defend against his offense. Listen, so many teams have done that over the season. You have to respect the Tyreek Hill effect. You have to respect basically all of their fast receiver effect. So you can get a quick catch out of it like that when I dare you to get up close on me, Right, and right. You know better. I mean, pretty much we all know better, like not to get that close. I mean, so you can, that. But when you know that, hey, I know they wouldn't dare do that. Like, this is the one thing they wouldn't dare do. Now, granted, you have to face them. You got to figure out things. And, we did the bracket coverage over the top. But guess what? When they got ready to play against Tampa, and it was the same thing, to close out the game and kind of seal the deal, they did those short passes right out, just let them get the first down, run out of bounds, or, just solidify it. And that's something that Andy Reid doesn't take for granted. He just goes to it when he needs to. And the tape says that to me.
Yeah, no,
absolutely. Have you seen it? Have you guys seen it at all?
Yeah, that was another game that we really missed Vita Vea in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you add Vita Vea back in there, and then you allow Sue to just be Sue. That's what's going to be good about this coming game. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, I think so. Go ahead.
Guys, I got to run some ads. Do you guys? It'll be a minute maybe, and you guys got to come back and talk about a little bit of head coach and some of these head coaching hires afterward.
Sure. Absolutely.
All right, absolutely.
I'm dying to talk some head coaching jobs.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll see you in a second.
I know.
Welcome back to the Hard Count Football Podcast Live. I'm here with Deshaun Tisdale and, as always, Johnny Dean, the professor. All right, guys, there were a bunch of head coaching hires within the last 7 days, and some of them surprising, but all of them should absolutely be talked about because they are interesting. Last week, I went through and gave my opinions on each team's best options to be their head coach. And now I'm going to go through each hire and grade them with you guys. Let's get your thoughts. So let's start off with the Jacksonville Jaguars. They hired Urban Meyer, and I gave this hire a B+, and here's why. The Jacksonville Jaguars are in a position right now where they can get Trevor Lawrence, the best quarterback prospect of probably the last 20 years. And they have a ton of draft picks and cap space over the next couple of years. I actually think the Jaguars are in a good spot. They couldn't take any crazy chances on some young coordinator or college guy that would be very hit or miss. This was something they needed to nail. And they need a leader and a guy who was going to change the culture in Jacksonville. Urban Meyer was that guy, and I think the obvious choice for this team as soon as they heard he was available. A guy with a lot of experience, and even though he hasn't coached in the NFL, he's a winner, and that is exactly what they needed in Jacksonville for the future. What did you guys think about the Jaguars hiring Urban Meyer? What grade would you give it?
After you, Deshaun.
Hey, so I think that Urban Meyer hire, I think that I have it as like a B+ or maybe an A-. And the way I feel about it is that they went with he was the best and safest hire for them. Now, is there somebody else out that I think probably had more NFL experience that could have done a bit better? Yes, I do think that, but I think that for this particular Jaguars team, where they're at and what's in their hand, I think this hire was about the picks that they have, the fact that they probably are going to pick up Trevor Lawrence, and that they have a coach that's very used to coaching college talent. So now that transition of him getting in the NFL is more of a comfortable transition. So you have Urban Meyer, he's going to be coaching this way. Then you take the fan effect. You know, he's already been down in Florida with the Gators. You have that fan effect. He's going to bring some of that back. I just thought it was an all around good hire, especially with the pieces, because now he can go ahead and do what many college coaches that do come to the league, they always want to bring some semblance of their own effect in. There's a few pieces there in Jacksonville, but they have enough draft picks to go out and get anything that they feel that's going to be beneficial for Trevor Lawrence and that team moving forward. And then just look at his contract. It's almost a no-brainer for him, because if he doesn't do good, you give him 2 years. If he doesn't do good, he'll just move to the front office, and that's it. He'll still be someone that can help you out just picking talent alone.
Yeah, absolutely. Johnny, what do you think?
I won't give them that high a grade. I'm sorry. I just can't. I'll give them an A for effort, because they really are. They're making a show of actually trying to build the team.
Right.
But you're going to an unproven NFL coach. He is proven in college, but so is Nick Saban.
Yeah.
That didn't work out. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you take the effort, and I really believe Jacksonville is doing their best to try to improve this team. Now, on the bright side, it's going to be a young team, and he will be able to relate to them. And the biggest obstacle there is how bad does he really want to be coaching again? Because he gets his moods, man. He'll coach, and then he'll like, I'm done with this.
Yeah,
and leave a team hanging. You know,
yeah, for sure.
Well, guys, let me answer this if you could, Jacob. Well, see, this is what I'm thinking, Johnny. This part, he's done that so many times before, right? Where I don't want to do it, or he's doing great, he gets a team to winning, then he doesn't feel like coaching anymore. I think some of that comes from coaching the college kids, because listen, these young men at these colleges where he's coaching, you got to babysit a lot of these guys. They got to have someone watching them. So that's its own headache. That takes it out of the coaching. Now, when you take it, and now when you think about it, you say, "Oh, listen, he's got his quarterback. He's got somebody. This is the NFL. They got somebody that I can pay you to make sure this guy does whatever. And I got other grown adult players that I don't have to babysit or worry about from week to week. That's going to take a lot of that extra pressure off of him." And I think I'm agreeing with you. I think they went for the hire for some of the star power. I think they did everything from a marketing standpoint. So if I know teams don't get all their own jersey money, but guess what? This year I expect to see a whole lot more Jaguar jerseys rolling around.
Absolutely.
I agree that he's a great coach. He's a great college coach. He has a great football mind. And the transition, though, all right, this is the best comparison I can make. He is an authoritarian, okay? And as most good college football coaches are, they are authoritarians. And we've seen where that attitude goes when it comes into the NFL.
I hope you're not going to describe this person that I think you're going to.
Hold on. Pete Carroll was the same way. First time around, he had to go back to college and relearn the system again. Came back to Seattle and learned how to be buddy. Okay. Nick Saban. There's nothing I can say about that. It's self-evident, And yes, Deshaun, Greg Schiano.
Oh.
That authoritarian attitude works great. It needs to be in college. It takes that kind of attitude to whip these guys into shape and get their mind right on winning. But it does not transition well at all to the NFL. Now you're talking about that authoritarian attitude with millionaires.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't.
Don't like that.
I agree with you. It doesn't. But my thing is, do you think that I agree with you on all of those. I feel like Pete Carroll went back. He came back now. And I feel like what Pete Carroll understands right now is almost coaching gold. He understands that I need to relate to these younger players enough to allow them to get the lesson that I'm trying to teach them instead of just force feeding them the lesson the way that I learned it. Greg Schiano, he was always that. Nick Saban is actually that too. If you talk to anyone on UA's campus, they'll tell you Nick Saban's a tyrant. So all those coaches are definitely authoritarian. But I just think that there's that bit of the factor that he's now going to be in the NFL, and there's no reason, and granted, he's going to still have a lot of young players that got a lot of draft picks. So, you may be just, striking gold right there, saying this out, putting this out early.
Maybe.
For sure.
Okay, go ahead now.
For sure. No, for sure. I don't want to run out of time. I want to get through all these other coaches. So let's move on to the Falcons, right? The Falcons hired Arthur Smith. I gave this a B-, which is lower than a lot of people thought. I thought this hire was just weird because to me, it didn't really make sense with Atlanta, with what Atlanta's working with right now, right? To have an offense with Matt Ryan who can't really move, it doesn't really use play action that much, and no good running backs. I'm curious to see, what he does coming from that Tennessee offense that he was dominant with, where he had Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill, which is obviously very different than what is going on with the Falcons. Then there's the question of whether they're even going to have Matt Ryan there next season. And overall, it's not the worst hire, I don't think. And I'm sure that Smith will be a good coach, and I am a fan of his. But it just kind of feels like the Falcons were settling here. What do you guys think?
Smith and Falcons. Okay. I'm gonna have to withhold my grade on that until I see more of the staff put together.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, here's my deal on that is that the Falcons I feel like they're another team that's in cap hell. So yeah. I don't feel like they have so many pieces that they could really do. They have to work some kind of magical deal to get rid of Julio, which was probably require them to give up some of their picks. So to me, I really just can't see this hire. I think this is a reach for them. Yeah. I think this hire is a little bit of a reach because if, like you said, if Matt's not going anywhere, then this doesn't fit their profile. And to be honest with you, you may start having to look at, linemen as well. And look at this NFC South, what you face. You're facing two top tier defenses already that are, just coming off the playoffs. Is this really where you want to start a rebuild? And I think they didn't want to call it a rebuild, but seems like it to me.
Yeah, no, for sure. Let's move on. The Los Angeles Chargers hired Brandon Staley, and I gave this one a B. And the reason I gave it a B, well, this was the most surprising hire So far, I mean, everyone expected the Chargers to hire Bills offensive coordinator Brian Daboll as an offensive coach to work with Justin Herbert, but they went the opposite direction of that with Staley, who was the Rams defensive coordinator. I really liked Staley as a candidate overall, and while people thought the Chargers should go get an offensive coach, as did I thought they were going to, this hire continues to make more and more sense the more you look at it, right? The Chargers had the 23rd ranked defense in the league last year, and were giving up points to everybody, but they were also scoring a lot of points. The Chargers front office thought, hey, if we get ourselves a defense and keep scoring points, we'll win football games, which is completely correct, as that is how football works. As long as Staley brings in, a good offense, it's all going to come down to who his offensive coordinator is. I haven't heard any word on who it's going to be, but as long as it's a good offensive coordinator that's going to work well with Herbert, this hire could be really beneficial to the team overall, and especially this defense. An offensive hire would have kept this team the same, I think, and it's high risk, but really high reward with Staley. What would you guys give the Staley hire?
Who is Staley putting in as DC? That's really what matters.
It's Raheem Morris is going in as the defensive coordinator. That's what I heard
I thought he was going to the Rams.
Oh, Rams. I confused him with I still thought of Staley with the Rams. Still in Los Angeles. Raheem Morris is coming to Los Angeles. Yeah. I don't know who his defensive coordinator is.
I can't grade a head coach until I see their staff.
The world around you may seem like an immovable, implacable.
Yeah, I'm thinking that as well. I kind of wait to see what pieces he's going to put in play, to be honest with you. That's where I'm at with it. Like the pick, I get what the organization did from a pick standpoint. Like, hey, we can score, we just need defense. So let's, organizations do that all the time. Let's bring in a defensive person. Now, here's the question: do you think he changes the defense?
I don't know.
He's got to be connected, man. He's got to be connected. That's what a head coach has to be. Their job is to bring in offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator that will put the team together in the proper manner. I need to know that a head coach is coming in and he's connected enough to know who to get for those positions.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Continue. And see, that's the thing. Same thing I was saying, Jacob. That's the problem that's the problem here, and I think that's the problem with the previous team we just talked about, Atlanta, because anyone that comes into Atlanta has to go under what's his name in the front office with them?
Rich
McKay. Rich, yeah, they have to go under Rich. So then it's like, well, if he has the final say, everyone's, it's up to him. Then it's, a lot of times I feel like other coaches don't want to be in that type of situation. They want autonomy as much as they could get it. So if they can't get that, they kind of want to, they don't want to be there or whatever. But I need to see a little bit more of his picks, though, Jacob, for me.
Yeah, for sure. And this next guy, it's kind of the same thing. He's not even officially hired yet, but I'm hearing it's all but done. And it's the Detroit Lions hiring Dan Campbell, who is he's the tight ends coach for the Saints. I gave this one a C. It just feels like they're settling on someone. Saleh was their guy. They didn't get him. I don't even know who he's bringing in as anything yet. It just feels like the Lions are reaching again to try and do something. It doesn't feel like the guy that they need, and I don't know what's going to happen there.
I'll disagree with that. I think Dan Campbell's a perfect fit there. Dan Campbell is connected. I know he's connected. He has a lot of connections in the NFL. He can build a staff.
Okay.
And that's hugely important. I think that's probably, when you look at even this Tampa team and you see how BA had, he's got coaches out the woodwork that wants to come and coach with him. It is super important to have that knowability, the name effect in the league, and that you've been around long enough so people respect your work from a coach and they're willing to come and coach with you. And I think that's going to be, that'll probably be huge for him there in Detroit. But then, you go back to, it's all come down to how many pieces he's able to get. Obviously, the coach is flying around at this point, so anything's up for grabs. That's for me a wait and see pick because it's the Lions at this point, and I got to see a change out of them.
The Lions are a rough team to be coaching right now. I think that's why they had some trouble getting a coach, getting one of these big name coaches. But moving on, this was the big one. This was the main one I wanted to talk about that I am so very excited to talk about, and that would be. It took till the end of the show to even mention it, but I did. The New York Jets hired Robert Saleh as their head coach, and I'm going to give this one an A just because I love. Listen, from everything I'm hearing, the Jets hit a home run by hiring Saleh. right? Everyone who has played for him loves him, says he connects with all his players personally. This was Joe Douglas's first coaching hire, since remember, he didn't hire Adam Gase. That was the previous GM, Mike McCagnon, and he knew he needed to get the guy for this team.
Mhm.
Saleh was probably the most sought after coach available, and nobody, even me, I didn't think the Jets would get him. Nobody thought the Jets would get him. But what the Jets did, which I find hilarious, is they hired the complete opposite of Adam Gase, right? Instead of the quiet, offensive, I'm going to put that in quotes, offensive coach, they went out and they got the loud, hype defensive guy that is a leader and will help turn this team around. And Johnny, I saw you commented it. We'll talk about it right after with Adam Gase, but for people saying that the Jets needed to go get an offensive guy for Sam Darnold or whatever quarterback is there, we'll get to maybe a quarterback that could be in New York next season in a second, but Saleh brought Mike LaFleur with him to be the offensive coordinator, who a lot of people believe could get a head coaching job within the next 1 or 2 years if he really does something with this Jets offense. He's apparently that good. I don't know how much you guys know about Mike LaFleur. I think he was the passing game coordinator over in San Francisco. Listen, I don't know what the Jets are going to do at quarterback, but if there was any guy who I think could turn the Jets around quickly, I trust Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas to do so. And I love this hire, and I gave it an A. What do you guys think? I might be biased. I would love to get your opinion on this.
Yeah, you are biased, but you are also correct. I like that hire. I was happy for you when I saw that. And Mike LaFleur, Mike LaFleur is going to go somewhere, man.
Listen,
Yeah.
that'll be the first time. That'll be the first time we've even been talking about any sort of Jets personnel getting maybe a head coaching job. So I would love to
save this tape and keep it archived so that 1 year from today you can go back and look at it, and then you'll know your grade.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Listen, that's how I kind of. Go ahead, Jacob.
No, you go. You go.
Oh, I'm like, dude, I think the Saleh hire is a awesome hire. For the Jets, and I feel like it eerily brings me back. It's funny that he's coming from San Fran, because it brings me actually back to the Mike Singletary pick with better coaching experience. Obviously, he's fiery. He's going to know the players. He has that feel. You could see it on the sideline. Players are playing out for him. And one thing I could just feels like that you get from the Jets team is that they're not always playing all the way out. Like, they get to those points where the games are lost. And then if you can bring in a coach like Saleh, that everyone seems to be fighting for him. When you hear players talk about him, when you look at any tweets and things like that, they want to play for him. He's bringing that out, right? And then he has an offensive coach that's going to come in and make sure the offense does it. But I think what the Jets need to do, and what they have with him, is that they're going to bring in a defensive mind. They're going to stop you. And listen, now, once again, with Tom out of this division, and then you have, the teams that are in this division right now, you got to think, well, they put up a stout defense that he's clearly able to do. It seems to be dangerous.
Yeah, you're gonna have to build a defense in that division now, because that division is turning over. The division's Miami and Buffalo and Patriots. The Patriots are going to rebuild. So
I was really, this hire. I wasn't expecting. The weirdest thing was, like, I was expecting either Dable or I don't even know who I wanted. Maybe Arthur Smith.
You would want Urban. I remember that very.
Urban was a guy when we had the number 1 pick that when we had that secured for however long we had it. That was the guy I wanted. Him or Jim Harbaugh were 2 guys that I really wanted for this team, because I didn't even think. I thought Saleh to Detroit. I mean, everything we were hearing was that was kind of done, right?
I don't know how well Urban Myers is connected with NFL coaches. And
right,
probably and stuff. And I know Jim Harbaugh is not well liked around NFL with coaching staffs and stuff. So those would have been. I don't think that would have been a good matchup for you guys. I think you got the perfect matchup here, because Saleh is 100% respected.
Yes, and an underrated part of what Saleh brings is these connections. People like playing for him, and this is not me saying like, oh, everyone's going to come to the Jets now, but Richard Sherman's a free agent, and he's already said he wasn't re-signing with San Francisco, and he has been he followed he was with Saleh in Seattle, and he was with Saleh in San Francisco. He's been harping on him as one of the best coaches he's ever had, and the Jets, that might be a guy you might look to bring in with Richard Sherman with this young corner group. And I think that he could very much help them since Richard Sherman's still really good when he's healthy, right?
Oh, for sure. For sure. He definitely is.
He
But I
plays
think,
the safety position better now than he's like Rondé Barber. When Rondé Barber was ready to retire, he went to safety positions, played lights out.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
we don't know if Richard Sherman can contain himself like that.
Right. We have no idea. We have no idea.
Well, Jacob,
just
I did
before,
have a
no, go ahead, Deshaun.
I was saying I did have a question for you. So, if it was Salah or Eric Bieniemy, which would you prefer?
The enemy.
Really, I wanted.
That's
Salah.
Jacob. I don't know. What do you got, Jacob?
I like Salah. I think Salah was the perfect guy in terms of his
Ooh.
energy on the sidelines. And I guess, listen, we see Bieniemy and he gets hype, and I think Eric Bieniemy is going to be a great coach in the NFL. I think he absolutely deserves a job. But for this team to bring in that San Francisco personnel also is huge, especially if we're keeping Sam Darnold, who thrives in that kind of system. I really like the Salah hire. I don't know. I was a fan of Bieniemy, but
I believe the enemy is the guy that can bring the most in because he is so well respected around the league by everybody.
Yeah.
The thing is, I have a feeling that he don't want a head coaching position because he still likes drawing up plays. And once you're a head coach, you're not. Everybody's misconception of a head coach is, oh, their playbook's going to kill. It's not their playbook. They hire OC and they hire a DC to do those things. A head coach combines all that. He's the one that's out there combining those plays, getting them together, all on the same page, you know, and working. He's the mouthpiece for the team and the GM.
Yeah.
The staff comes to him, says, we need this guy. We need this guy. And in draft time, he got this big board, but everybody's wants, and they break it down. The head coach breaks it down with the GM, and that's how it works out.
Yeah, no, for sure. And here's what I'm going to do. Just because we obviously don't have enough time showing today, but here I'm going to go through and either I'm going to say, you guys are going to say what team that you think Deshaun Watson. I'm going to do a whole video on this on my YouTube channel, but what is the team that you think Deshaun Watson will be starting for week 1 of the NFL season? Let's start with you, Johnny.
Oh, go to Deshaun. I got
Deshaun.
Hey, listen, don't kill me. I'm just shooting from the hip right here. I'm going to go Patriots.
It makes sense too. all those connections from Houston to New England and all that.
It just feels like something that Belichick can listen. Cam's not it. There's a couple of pieces that are free that they could get back to back up. I'm sure I don't feel like Cam's going to be back there. Maybe they bring in a couple of pieces. There's a lot of pieces kind of swimming around, and if you could get enough, you could get. I think him with the Patriots could definitely fit when they get some of their pieces back next year. That some of their holdouts for COVID for this season, defense will be better, and he brings stuff, and they'll have enough to pick up a couple of weapons, and that should take them over the top.
Yes, for sure. All right, Deshaun, you go ahead. I'm going to get you out of here. Go ahead, tell us where we can find you because you do have a show now on Bucks Report. Go ahead, tell us when we can watch it.
Hey, this is Deshaun Tisdale. You have Deshaun's 411 coming this Thursday, 7 p.m. right here on Bucks Report. Tune in. We'll get after everything, go over all the stats, the numbers, everything that's going to happen this week, and I'm sure I'm going to have some goodies in there. Hey, you guys, welcome to drop by, Jacob, Johnny. It was great jumping on with you, Jacob. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely, man. Go check out Deshaun show. I'm gonna get you out of here. Thanks for joining, man. Appreciate it.
Good luck, Deshaun.
All right, good, Johnny. You go ahead. Tell us where will Deshaun Watson be starting week 1 of the 2021 NFL season?
He might be at the Patriots, but I doubt it because I don't think Bill Belichick wants to invest in the receivers that he needs. He didn't do it for Brady. Why would he do it for Deshaun?
Yeah, you're right.
And if you look around, who's about to retire maybe this year or next year, and the franchise, if Deshaun is available, might just say, okay, thank you for being here. Good luck. You've had a great career. They wear a horseshoe on their helmets.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I don't think they'll trade him in the division. I can't see it, I
couldn't see it either, but I've seen it happen so many times in my time.
Yeah, I don't know, but I feel like, the teams I'm looking at right now are the Bears. I really like the Bears as an option. I don't think the Bears draft picks will be high enough. The team I think they're most readily available to make Deshaun Watson, to get that offer for Deshaun, and it would make sense, is the Jets, right? Because Deshaun said he had wanted to play with two coaches.
I knew. See, I knew you were going to bring it back to the Jets, dude. Take your bias out of this.
No. Bias out of it. I think either Miami is good to make an option, but how like embarrassing would it be to make an offer and trade back for that number 3 pick that you gave away? Like that's humiliating.
There are 5 quarterbacks who will make an impact in this league this year. Okay.
Deshaun is one of them.
No, I mean in the draft.
Oh, okay.
You're not, and Deshaun's young. I'll give you that. He's young, but I don't see the Jets doing that, dude. That wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense.
The only reason I could see it is because they have just so what are you going to do with the 2 pick, right? You're going to either take Justin Fields. You can take Sewell. I don't know. I doubt they'll end up taking Sewell.
You can trade out and trade to the 4th spot and still get your quarterback and build a team off of it.
I don't know. I like, and Deshaun's contract allows him to not really hurt the Jets next year, and they have the cap space to do it. And they're still going to have, I think, like $70 million in cap space after if they get Deshaun and his contract. And I get that, Joe Douglas wants to build this team around draft picks, but if I'm telling you last year, like, hey, you could trade 2 first-round picks and Jamal Adams to get Deshaun Watson in the building, I'm doing that.
Well, I see it like the Texans owner is making a show of saying, I want Deshaun here. He's saying you can help pick players, you can help pick out the coaching. He's trying to give him free reign with player personnel and stuff. And I've heard this before. And the last time I heard that done by an owner, it was bait to increase the guy's value.
Yeah.
So, I do think the Texans are shopping him around, but I also think it's going to cost more than the Jets are going to want to give up.
Possibly. We'll see. But Johnny, go ahead. Tell us where we can find your stuff, because you write a lot of interesting articles.
I have a page called What's Happening Sports and Entertainment. That's where I'll be, or on my own wall. That's it. And here, Bucks Report.
Absolutely. All right, Johnny, I'm going to get you out of here. Thanks for joining, man. Appreciate it.
Later, guys.
Yep. All right, guys. And with that, we're going to wrap today from the Hard Count Football Podcast Live. My name is Jacob Charno, and thank you so much, everybody, for joining me today. Special thanks to Johnny Dean, to Dominic, and to Deshaun for joining the show. Be sure to go follow me on Twitter at Jacob Charno, Instagram at Hard Count Football, and now on TikTok at Hard Count Football as well. And remember to check out the Hard Count Football Podcast Live every single week on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Hard Count Football YouTube channel, and now on Bucks Report. Make sure to go check out other videos from Hard Count Football and subscribe.